Hey Revolutionaries, I'm excited to bring you this week's episode with Shelly Hod Moyal, where we're talking angel investing. Yes, angel investing. I am super stoked for everyone to listen and discover angel investing, what it is, and how Shelly and the company that she co-founded, iAngels, is bringing angel investing kind of to the masses and making it available to invest in companies that are in one of the hottest spots in the world for early stage tech startups, companies that are in the blockchain space, cryptocurrency, etc. Tel Aviv, Israel. Yeah, it's really cool what she's doing, and can't wait for everyone to understand what's available to all of us now because of the internet and the way we're connected. But before we get there, real quick, I just wanted to mention that, it's early December here, and I woke up this morning and the ground is covered with snow. It's the first snow of the year, and it's like 10 inches. It's not just a dusting. It's like 10 or 12 inches. This is not an exaggeration. There's more snow out in the snow belt where I am here in northern Ohio, and it's kind of freaking me out. And I just wanted to share that with everyone because normally I've been escaping to Asia for the winter because it just keeps me healthier. I don't like the snow that much. But because of COVID, a lot of countries are closed. I'm not sure I'm going to be traveling this year. And so the realization that winter is really here now, it's kind of freaking me out, like I said, and I'm not sure what to do, but I've made a decision. And the decision is I'm going to face my fear, and I'm going outside today, and I'm going to go for a walk in the snowstorm. In the snow. It's like blowing and still snowing and cold, but I'm heading right into it because that's how I'm going to deal with winter this year. Is I'm going to attack it. I'm going to attack my fear. So maybe that will serve as some motivation for others out there that are coming up with challenges here towards the end of the year. But that's what I'm going to do about it. But if you're not going to do that, or maybe if you are going to go outside and go for a walk, make sure you listen to the episode because it's really cool, and you will have some insight into if you're interested in investing in technology startups, investing as an angel investor. Of course, there's some requirements to that, but the requirements are actually coming down in terms of how much money you're supposed to have and how how much of a nanny state your government is depending on what country you're in. It's just more widely available, and that's one of the cool things that again Shelly is doing for all of us around the world. So hey, let's get to the episode and check it out. This episode of Jim's Reinvention Revolution is brought to you by MGS Graphics, a graphics production support firm delivering services to ad agencies, graphic designers, brand managers, retailers, and product manufacturers worldwide. MGS Graphics is not only reinventing, they are revolutionizing graphics production support. So how do they do it? Well, they free up your team to focus on big ideas while MGS Graphics handles the execution. Their skilled experts are ready to jump in when your project load spikes so you can avoid the headaches and extra overhead cost of hiring new staff. Plus, you won't lose out on work opportunities because of delivery and production timelines. Did you know their skilled staff of professionals use the best and most widely used graphics software on the market? And when it comes to project management, MGS Graphics provides the highest level of customer service by assigning you a dedicated project manager. And they use the industry-leading project management software to ensure all communication, deadlines, and deliverables are met. This allows teams and clients to collaborate with each other in real time, no matter where you are around the world. Need more than just production? MGS Graphics also has a fully staffed creative team. Ask about their design services and agency partnerships. So, if you're looking for a partner to accelerate and support your business's growth, go to mgsgraphicspro.com/JJRR for 15% off your first project. 15%? That is revolutionary. Go to mgsgraphicspro.com/JJRR. That's mgsgraphicspro.com/JJRR.
Welcome to Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast, the show that explores reinvention in the digital age as it relates to career, creativity, and technology. Stay tuned for interviews with professionals, entrepreneurs, and creatives that have reimagined success and are making a pivot. If you'd like to listen to the entire back catalog, visit JimJim'sReinventionRevolution.com for instant access. And now, here's your host, Jim Jim.
Hey everybody, hey, this is Jim Jim. Welcome to episode 76 of Jim Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast. And I'm talking today with Shelly Hod Moyal. I hope I said that right. And we're talking angel investing. So Shelly, welcome to the Reinvention Revolution.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for taking the time to come on. And, before we dig into angel investing, which I can't wait to discuss this with you, I wanted to mention that I'm super bummed that I did not get to come to Israel this summer because I know you guys had an angel investment conference and tech investor, function planned like in June. I think it was like towards the end of June. And it was on my travel schedule, and I was like, oh, I can't believe this COVID thing. It's like canceling everything. And I was just super bummed because I've heard such good things about Israel in general, that like from friends that I've known that have traveled there and dig it. So I was really interested in checking it out. But anyways, I just wanted to share that with you. That I'm keeping an eye on you guys, and I wanted to kind of continue to get to know the world of angel investing. So anyways, let's move on. I just wanted to share that with you. So for everybody who's listening out there who doesn't understand what angel investing is, first of all, let's start there. What's angel investing?
So angel investing is when an individual privately invests in a private company at its very early stage, sometimes at inception, versus someone investing in a public company, for example. I
gotcha. So would people also call that private equity? Is that another name for angel investing, sort of?
So it is a form of private equity. It's a segment of private equity, but it's specialized because it's at very early stages. And in a way, or in a sense, people call it angel investing because it's really the first people that give the initial funding to entrepreneurs and basically give them the kiss of life, if you will.
The kiss of life.
That's why they're called angels.
I love that. Oh, okay. Is that where it comes from? I didn't know where that term came from.
I'm not sure it comes from that, but I think so.
Okay.
I think it has something to do with the fact that, someone...
You're trying to breathe something to life, bring something to life.
Backing you.
Right.
Supporting you from above or from afar.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what I would assume why they call it angel investing, because it's like, your guardian angel's trying to take care of you. But breathe life into something. I really like that concept or idea because that's kind of what it's about. It's a different stage. Like normally, I guess if you're in the entrepreneurial world, when you're getting started, you might first go to friends and family as your first sort of, if need capital to get started, that's kind of your first ask, and then maybe you start discovering the world of angel investing. Like for me, or maybe for generally people out there know about the stock market, they hear more about that. And I've been, investing in the stock market, for 25 years, probably something like that, public companies, once I started my working career. But it's for me, it's just, I've been getting into angel investing the last maybe, really, I would say I've always kind of been interested in it a little bit. And there's two things I wanted to bring up here in terms of just where you are right now, being in Israel, and why it's kind of come onto my radar screen. So, for me, being in the tech game, being an engineer, et cetera, I always knew about Silicon Valley. That's where the tech universe is been bubbling up the last 20 years, let's say. But I didn't live in Silicon Valley. So I'm from Ohio. I was living in Ohio, and so I would travel out there a ton of times, San Jose, been in all these conferences, but I was never around enough. And this is kind of pre-internet days, to be involved in the angel investing part out there, because it was always more of a face-to-face kind of, you just kind of have to do the hang and get to know everybody. And if you have some resources, then they kind of invite you into their circle, or et cetera, and you get to know about these deals to invest in early, if you have a vision of to do this. But that was never my case, and the world has changed now, and now we all can be connected in these different ways. And now Israel in particular is another hotspot of technology, and so angel investing based in Israel is super interesting, I think, for the world right now, really, because there's so much so many interesting projects going on there. So I guess that's just to explain that, like, why this is coming up on my radar screen maybe more recently over the last few years, because of just the change in tech that's happening out there and the way we're connected. So it's a really cool thing for people to discover. So that's kind of, the mission of the podcast here is to help people discover these things. So, all right, I'm going to stop talking and get back to talking about angel investing in general and why Israel. What's so special about Israel and the technology scene there that makes it fertile for angel investing?
So Israel is a very interesting place to invest in from a technical standpoint, because Israelis are known for their entrepreneurial culture, a culture that dates back to even 1000 BC.
Yeah, right.
Writing was invented in Israel. The concept of taking kind of your thoughts and putting it into writing is a technology that was developed in Israel. I don't know if you know that.
I did not know that. Okay.
But even since this country was formed, and today it's called the Startup Nation, we're really set up between neighboring countries that have a lot of natural resources and a lot of places in which they can leverage these resources to create businesses. But really, Israel was set up in a desert without oil, with a bunch of water problems. Mm-hmm. And the entrepreneurial culture of Israelis was to really make the most and develop technologies that help us make the most of what we have. And as a result of this, we've really developed a lot of technologies. And if you take water, for example, Israel has become a world leader in water management and drip irrigation and agricultural technologies. If you take defense and cybersecurity, same. Israel always had challenges and problems with countries that didn't want Israel to exist, and so Israelis have developed a very strong army, have developed cybersecurity technologies, have developed technologies, for example, like of the Iron Dome, and actually the list goes on. Also in renewable energy, and so from quite a few decades ago, Israelis have been developing technologies, and once it's become clear that Israel is going to survive, and we're not just working on kind of our everyday survival, entrepreneurs here started wanting to commercializing these ideas and to commercializing these technologies. And many of the first generation of entrepreneurs that came about here were actually people who served in the army, worked in tech units, or worked in intelligence and cybersecurity, and said, hey, maybe I can build a similar product for the real world. And this is something that Israel can really contribute to the world, our experience and our know-how in developing technologies and being entrepreneurs and taking risks. And indeed, we do have a culture of risk taking because of these fundamentals, and that has evolved into what we know today as the Startup Nation, and today even people call it the Scale-up Nation, because over the last several years there are also a lot of scale-ups and large businesses that are founded here in Israel, and so I think that Israel really does have a lot to contribute in that sense.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Well, if people aren't aware, so I kind of went out and tried to create a small list here of companies people might recognize. So Waze came out of, Israel, this kind of startup culture. Waze, Wix, Mobileye, Viber, Fiverr, House, Payoneer, even WeWork has a connection. I think one of the founders of WeWork was an Israeli. So I think you're right. I think you're right that things are really starting to scale up now. So there's these names that people really know, where it's not just a smaller little company that gets bought at the $100 million stage and it kind of, the name disappears. That it's really there's super deep technology there, but it's also scaling. And even the big companies like the Googles and Facebooks of the world, they also have outposts in Tel Aviv now, correct?
Yes, quite a few of them. All the large tech companies have a presence in Israel. It's right now more than 500 tech companies. All the companies that you certainly know, Facebook, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Intel, IBM. This is just to name a few.
Right.
But many of these companies, their actual main R&D center is the main or secondary R&D center is actually based in Israel, which is also cultivating the ecosystem of technology in Israel, because they're obviously the first contenders to buy the technologies or to acquire these companies or to partner with them or to become their customers. And these companies in all over the world have become quite acquainted and quite used to doing business in Israel, which also makes it attractive and easy to work here.
Right, exactly. Well, people, I kind of liken it a little bit to, people think here, like in the United States, for example, Austin, Texas is kind of a secondary hub for all the tech companies here in the U.S. in terms of they're building kind of second headquarters there and whatever, because Silicon Valley is getting so expensive and crazy in California. So maybe you can think of it like that, like really as a hub of technology around the world. Tel Aviv and Israel is right up there with everything that's going on. So pretty interesting. So all right, so that explains why this is fertile ground for angel investing. But explain a little bit about how it works and maybe the requirements for angel investing. Like, I know you have to be an accredited investor, for example, for this kind of scene. And also, are people that don't live in Israel, how are they able to invest in this way? So two questions there.
So I'll start with accredited investors. First of all, accredited investors is basically a term that defines investors that are exempt from securities law in certain countries. Basically, every country has some sort of definition of sophisticated investors or accredited investors, where the government believes that they don't have to take extra precautions in order to defend them, meaning that they're understanding or they're sophisticated enough to make risky investments. Mm-hmm. And this is because governments took on themselves to protect retail investors. And so in all the countries in the world, there is some sort of regulation which defines people that any type of investment firm is able to market to high-risk investments. And I believe in the United States, it's something along the lines of $1 million in net worth or $200,000 of income. I believe that now they actually added another definition of being sophisticated that's actually not that's not monetary, which is very interesting and I think good. In Israel, there's a different definition, but basically the idea is that if you're making angel investments, you need to be very aware of what you're getting into. You need to build a portfolio. You need to make sure that you're not risking too much, or basically risking funds that you're able to lose, because it does happen that when you're making investments into early stage technology companies, it's a high risk reward ratio, meaning that when you're successful, you can be incredibly successful. And we've seen this with we've already had 14 exits since we started iAngels, and quite a few of our investors have been very successful, but there are also companies that fail by nature of the asset class. Mm-hmm. So that's about accredited investors. With regards to how do people invest in Israel, so it's an interesting question, because this is actually the reason why we created iAngels, because typically angel investing was something that was done locally. It was done through communities of investors or people that were involved in technologies, people that were entrepreneurs and maybe sold a business and then connected and started cultivating a new generation of entrepreneurs. But even in Israel, angel investing used to be something that was done just by a tightly knit community of business angels. And it was very difficult to get into this circle and to be able to gain access to these companies. And even if you were able to gain access to these companies, it would have been difficult to invest in these companies because many of the companies wouldn't accept an investor that can't invest $200,000 from the get-go.
Right.
So really our idea as young entrepreneurs and young investors, and we wanted to invest in some of the tech companies in Israel. So we built a vehicle that enables young professionals or business professionals or people that want to have exposure to technology companies but want to have more than 1-2 companies but actually build a portfolio which is a professional venture capital portfolio. This is why we started the company, so we would be able to allow people from all over the world to invest in Israel high-tech companies in a way that's managed and transparent and professional, because otherwise it's very difficult to have all the opportunities and see all the opportunities and know what your options are. When you're investing in private companies, this is critical. It's not like investing in Apple stock and going to sleep for
right.
10 years and making a 20x. It's actually, it requires a lot of oversight. It requires revisiting the company and deciding whether you want to continue investing over the years. You need to have rights in order to be able to do that. You need to have both rights to receive information from the company, but also rights to continue investing in the company as the company grows. And this is actually incredibly important for an angel investor, because by the time you have a successful company, you want to be able to support and continue investing,
right,
so that by the time your portfolio matures, you have actually most of your money in your best companies. So really, just to kind of sum it up, starting iAngels was exactly in order to provide a tool for investors outside of Israel to be able to invest in high-tech startups in Israel.
I see. So that was actually one of your missions. So Shelly's the founding partner, one of the founding partners and co-CEO of iAngels, iAngels.com, which is this investment company. So that was one of your goals, is to actually bring dollars to Israel, like outsider money?
Absolutely. Not just outsider money. We have also insider money.
Certainly,
30% of our investor base is in Israel, but certainly we have investors from 60 countries. Mm-hmm. Most of them actually in the United States, but we have investors in Hong Kong, in India, in Switzerland, in Germany, and Canada, and Mexico, and Brazil, and really in most of the large companies, most of the large countries in the world. So there's a very active community of investors that are interested in high tech in Israel. And really one of our missions was to bring more capital and create more business between Israel and the rest of the world.
Right, right. Well, I love the idea, and I love the possibilities that iAngels offers in terms of just discovery and opportunity, really to leverage all these things that are going on. And for me, I just want to go back to this one point. If you're out there thinking about, well, I want to learn more about these technology types of companies, maybe I want to become an angel investor myself, but I don't live in Israel. This is the key point to me, is that this vehicle now exists, like an iAngels type of company, that allows you as a foreigner, like to me, it was kind of like one of my concerns was when I first discovered you. I have a small investment in one of your portfolio companies, full disclosure, I guess, in that I was concerned, like as a United States citizen, how can I invest in a company that's actually in Israel? Well, mm-hmm. That's one of the services of iAngels, is to figure out all that paperwork, for example, right, and mm-hmm. figure out how you can leverage this opportunity. So I think in this case, for the case of being in the U.S., I think your investing entity is actually located in the U.S., right, to kind of comply with all the laws that need to be complied with. So the
investments are made through a Delaware partnership,
right? And
so when someone makes an investment through our platform, they're able to invest through this partnership, and they receive the full reporting and the K1s and everything they're used to, right, as investors wherever they are.
Exactly, because the first thing in my mind was like, how sketchy is this? When I first discovered you, it's like, let me think about this. How is this really going to work? Because I was uninitiated. I was uneducated. So, but I've learned a ton since discovering this concept and idea and working with you, and really keeping an eye on kind of what's going on over there. It's really interesting. So, well, and one more thing about angel investing, I know you said it before, just to make sure everybody kind of hears it out there. This is not for the main part of your portfolio, unless you're a super sophisticated person that's really in the angel investment scene. This is for a small portion. If you want to take some high risk assets and add some diversity to what you're doing, maybe this is the place to do it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I would. I would agree. I wouldn't invest more than 10% of the portfolio in these type of investments, for sure. And even within this, let's say 5%, 5 to 10%, I would certainly diversify across several opportunities and not just in one or two.
Right, certainly. Okay, good. I just want to get that out there, like just because some people are just maybe have never discovered it and they think this is the thing to do and they're going to put all their money in it. Like, no, that's not the right approach for this. And I don't want to push people into the wrong direction. But, let's before we move off, I want to kind of talk about a little bit more of kind of your background a little bit. But before we move off of that, I wanted to make sure that people understood that there's kind of two sides of the house within iAngels. There's the engineering, software, high-tech world, and then there's the Bitcoin and crypto world. Can you talk about that a little bit, like what your offerings are and how you approach them?
So iAngels is basically a platform that enables people to invest in startups across different sectors, across different technologies. We invest, our investments span across enterprise software, digital healthcare, agricultural technologies, food technologies, financial technologies. We also have blockchain technologies as part of financial technologies. Mm-hmm. Now, specifically in blockchain, because some of the investment opportunities or some of the investment vehicles are not necessarily in equity but are in tokens, then it's possible also in certain cases to invest in a few token projects or in our blockchain fund.
Right. So I just wanted to get that in to make sure you're not, obviously if you're in the tech world, you can't ignore blockchain or crypto, what's going on over there. And you guys have a view into kind of both sides of the house in that respect. So, okay. So let's rewind a second here, or I want to dig back into this because when you started talking about founding iAngels, you got excited about what you were into. Like, I want this opportunity for myself. This is where I see. But, you weren't always an entrepreneur. It sounds like you started out more in the traditional financial world. Maybe you can explain your background a little bit and like, where'd you get this idea and why did you think that you could do this as an entrepreneur and start this new company?
Sure. So actually, I started my career in the U.S. I started at UBS in private wealth management. Then I worked at a New York-based hedge fund, Avenue Capital, where I was part of the investment team, investing and analyzing banks and insurance companies. This was during the subprime crisis, where there were many, many investment opportunities in the space for distressed debt primarily. Afterwards, I started working at Goldman Sachs, and from there I was located to Israel and worked on the Israel team. I was part of several technology M&As and IPOs. I was even involved in several principal investments that Goldman made into high-tech companies and into a large venture fund in Israel. And that's how I kind of got to learn more about the technological landscape. My partner and co-CEO, Mor Assia, she also comes from a very interesting background, but she's from the technology side. So she was in an elite intelligence unit. And, some of the technologies that we're seeing today are things that she worked on in the Army 20 years ago. And then she worked as a software engineer at SAP. She studied mathematics and computer science. She got her MBA at Columbia, and then she worked in corporate strategy at IBM and in Amdocs. Mm-hmm. And our third partner, who's also the chairman of iAngels, is David Assia, and he's one of the first high-tech veterans in Israel. He was the first entrepreneur that took a company public on the NASDAQ, Magic Software, an Israeli company on the NASDAQ, sure. Magic Software, which still exists. And he's been investing since the 90s. So for almost 3 decades. Mm-hmm. And he has a lot of experience, had a lot of exits, and really comes with experience that's unmatched. in terms of the Israeli ecosystem. And so the three of us decided to create this platform together. We both have experience abroad and in Israel, both experience investing and in technology, and both familiar with the investor side and the entrepreneur side.
Right.
Many of these entrepreneurs that we're investing in are people, they're from our age group. We went with them to the army. They're our friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so the ability to, or the familiarity with these groups enable us to be a bridge. And over the last 7 years, we've been doing this, and we've invested in close to 80 companies. And so it's been great. And many of our investors who have grew with our business and really see us today as their eyes and ears in Israel.
Right. Oh, that's so interesting. Well, so what was the genesis of the idea? Like, I understand why you'd want to do it, but like, were you just sitting around and just kicking back after work one day and thinking like, hey, we should do this? Or like who was really pushing for it, I guess?
Well, it wasn't actually that far. So my partner, Mor, she was thinking about doing this, and she approached me about it I would say 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time I was still working at Goldman. I wasn't
right.
so sure.
Because you're in a good position. So it's like, that's the curiosity to me. Like, you have a super career. You're probably making a ton of money. Like, you're everybody that aspires to like be successful. You're already there. So like, what's inside your mind to think like, you know what, maybe I should try this?
So I thought about it. I thought about it for a while, and then she continued looking for a potential partner. We were good friends from New York from the time that she studied in Columbia. Mm-hmm. And then after a few months, I thought, you know what? It's never a good time. At that time, I was about 27 years old, so I wasn't sure that I'm ready, or that
right.
That I'm sure enough, that I have enough skills or enough capability to start my own business.
Right.
I thought about it as something that maybe I'll do later in life.
Right.
But
certainly in this world at the time, right? I mean, this is two women founding a company in the technology space, which is, normally it's very like, bro central. It's just full of young men. It's pretty interesting. So yeah, it must have been a real leap of faith, or something about you that's decided, I need to try this. Or
I think also the partnership between us, we grew to really kind of grow together.
Yeah.
And I think that, part of that partnership and part of, getting to enjoy building something with someone where each person brings a different aspect, and in many ways we complement each other, and we were each other's rock. Mm-hmm. And I truly think that doing it together made the whole difference. And I always recommend, even when I meet entrepreneurs that are thinking of creating a business together, I really recommend that they find someone, mm-hmm. because the entrepreneurial journey, it's not easy. I mean, it's very exciting, but it's incredibly difficult at times. And if you don't have a strong partner, it's not easy to make it, because there are ups and downs, and you really want to make sure that you're doing it with someone that you trust and that you can grow together with.
Right. I like it. Well, super interesting, and that's super fun to hear your story, because now's the time. That's the way I think about the way the world is right now. We're super connected. We can discover all these different markets. We can just really use our creativity and find a niche that we're really into, and go for it and try something, and design our own opportunities in life now, versus kind of staying in that same mold of working for the big corporation, which is also a nice life as well. But I think there's so much opportunity if we kind of just keep our minds open to, like you said, help your friends or help your country or your city, or wherever you're living. It's just kind of fun to really add value to the world like that. So, we've got a few minutes left on the podcast, but there's always a few questions I like to ask people when they come on, and one is about, you talked about the entrepreneurial journey. Is there a reinvention revelation you can share with people? Something that you discovered along the way about yourself or about business or about the journey that, you wouldn't have known without kind of taking this road, a real discovery or experience that you can share?
It's a very interesting question. You really don't know what you don't know until you get into it.
Right.
As someone who worked at Goldman, sometimes 20 hours a day, every day, all day, I was sure that if I can withstand that, I can withstand anything. And coming into entrepreneurship, it's extremely humbling. When you're starting a business, nobody knows you, nobody cares, you don't have a brand,
right?
And you really are doing everything. You're the salesperson, you're the secretary, you're the analyst, you're the marketing guy, you're everything,
mm-hmm.
and the CEO, and you really don't have a lot of experience. And you don't know anything about what it's like to build a business. And what's interesting is that it also always changes. So by the time you got the hang of one thing, then all of a sudden you need to develop a new set of skills and capabilities to bring you to the next level.
Right.
And then you're on a new journey of kind of self-development, self-improvement. And then by the time you got to understanding, or you acquired a few insights in that respect, then you already have another challenge to overcome. And it's really, it's never ending. It's a living, breathing object. And within it also the partnership, which is growing and evolving. And it's, and the partnership also, it's like a marriage. It's something that if you really want to work, you really want to be successful, you have to put in the energy, you have to work. And there's a lot of work and thought and energy that goes into this. But for me, it's the best thing I've done in my life, and I'm still very excited about it. And, but indeed it's very different than how I imagined it.
Right. I'm sure.
When I was 27, I said, I'm going to start a business. Kind of woke up and decided to start my own business, and I'll build a website and I'll do a few marketing campaigns on Facebook.
Yeah. That's all it takes, right?
Yeah. Very different.
Very different,
fast forward, I have 2,000 investors from 60 countries and 50 shareholders and 20 employees. It's, it's a lot of responsibility.
It is. Yeah, it is. Well, it's a super, like you said before, it puts you on this path of like super growth. Like whether you want to grow and change or not, it's sort of like that's the requirement to even go down the journey. So I think that's some of the insight that I know I've figured out for myself. But it's also great to hear how other people have experienced it. You said something about how everything changes. Like as soon as you sort of feel like you got a grasp on something, then the world changes or something changes, and you have to kind of reinvent yourself again. So that made me think of, since COVID has happened, this is a whole nother ballgame in terms of dealing with the world and investments. What have you seen change about the angel universe, or the Israeli tech scene, et cetera, with regard to COVID? Have you seen people pivoting? Is there more action now? Is more money flowing in because they see opportunity? Or are people sort of slow to react because they're nervous and conservative now? Or what's changed since COVID?
It's interesting because it's actually similar to what's happening in public markets, where how people are talking about the K recovery, where you're seeing kind of many industries going down, but many industries kind of going up, skyrocketing.
Right.
So we're very much seeing that, meaning that there is a lot of interest and a lot of money flowing into companies that are in specific sectors or that have specific traction or a specific trajectory in other areas where people are much more wary and much less interested in investing in. Mm-hmm. Overall, the high-tech ecosystem in Israel is still extremely healthy. So we haven't seen any kind of difference in funding. There's a lot of funding here in Israel. Personally, our business wasn't affected at all by COVID, except for the fact that we don't travel. We haven't been traveling over the past couple of months. Mm-hmm. We have seen a lot of investors coming in or continuing to invest.
I see. Is there any like particular sectors or niches you can rattle off that would be like, hey, these 2 or 3 are kind of the real focus right now?
Yeah, so there are a lot of people that are investing in digital health. Digital health is certainly an area that people are very interested in. It's actually been an area of focus of ours for several years, and we have quite a few companies in the space, and we've seen some of them really take off during this time. Another area that's very interesting is food tech. Food tech is, part of Staples, and people are trying to make the most of resources that are finite, and looking for new ways to be healthy and to consume healthy food. So food tech has been an area that's been of interest to investors. But also some of the traditional technologies in Israel, enterprise software. I mean, at the end of the day, enterprise software is basically helping companies be more productive and be more efficient and take more of the kind of day-to-day manual skills that people need to do and bring it to the hands of technology.
Right.
And overall, that trend, makes companies more efficient and more cost-effective.
Sure.
As sad as it may be for the rest of the world. Also, artificial intelligence. I mean, artificial intelligence, at the end of the day, these are machines that are learning to do what humans can do. And as the world is becoming kind of a different place and trying to create value in a way that's more efficient with less resources, and today one of the most expensive resources is human labor, then again, that is something that continues to grow, an area that continues to grow. And a lot of investors are seeking out opportunities to invest in companies or sectors that are taking advantage of artificial intelligence.
Right. Exactly. That's it's just such a really interesting time, and I think this COVID is really like you said, it's this K kind of concept of it really has fast forwarded maybe like 6-8 years. Technologies that lean into the technology world. Maybe some of the other ones, like the brick and mortar kind of older 20th century kind of concepts, are failing faster. But that's just kind of how the world is working these days. One of the sectors out there that you also have portfolio companies in is electric vehicles. I wanted to mention that if you're a new listener or if you haven't listened to it yet, one of their portfolio companies is Arbe Robotics. And I had an interview with Bill. I wanted to give Bill a shout out because that's when you guys first came to Cleveland. You came to Cleveland to hold investor seminar, I think. Actually, also I want to give a shout out to Michael Stofsky because that's how I got connected to you guys. So I met him through Cleveland's Blockland initiative, and you guys had an event at their law firm, at Michael's law firm. But I wanted to give a shout out to Bill and let people know listening out there that check out episode 42. It's about Arbe Robotics and what's going on in the EV world. So they're a laser radar company that's developing sensing systems for electric vehicles. So I love the breadth and depth of all the just engineering stuff and the technology stuff, software, the new economy stuff, connected stuff. That's great. I love it. I love all this stuff. Anyways, I just wanted to mention that because people are just, you need to find out about these things, okay? Just go check it out. All right. All right, I got one final question for you as we're thinking about things going forward. And that is, what are you feeling urgent about today? So, you've gone through this entrepreneurial journey, you've had COVID hit, you've continued to reinvent yourself. You're getting good at that now, right? And you're super successful. Is there something on your mind though that's like, I really need to get to this, or maybe something, in 2021 that you have in your vision right now?
It's a good question. There's nothing really that comes to mind, except kind of continuing doing what we do, and growing and really doing our best to find the best investments that we can here in Israel. I think that in terms of the time, if anything, it's important to really, take advantage, in the sense it's now or never. This is right. The time for technology investment. We're living in a time where technology and software is taking over the world. And we're seeing it every day, how more and more technologies are taking over entire industries. Arbor Robotics is an example. There used to be a time where radar technology was something that was developed only by the automotive industry. Today, it's tech companies and,
right.
Even like the tech companies that you know of, like Google and Uber, that are taking over the automotive industry. And same goes for healthcare and for insurance and for banks and really, as time goes by, we're seeing more and more technology companies and in general technology businesses that are conquering more and more areas in our life. And so I really believe that this is the place to be, and hope to continue making good investments in this space and being a part of this exciting time.
Right. Well, absolutely. Well, it sounds like it's super fun. You're in a good space and you're creating a lot of value for people. So it's really cool. So if people are interested in finding out more about iAngels or more about you, connecting with you, or interested in learning more about angel investing, what should they do? Where would you tell them to go?
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, people can visit us on www.iangels.com. That's our website. All you need to do is register as an accredited investor. It takes just a few seconds, and then you have access to all our opportunities. You get exposure to all the deal flow. And like I said, we're investing across sectors. So it's for a beginner angel investor, even for an experienced angel investor that's interested in investing in technologies coming out of Israel. There's a lot of materials there about the specific companies, the specific sectors, markets that we're looking at, and even insights about angel investing in general. So I definitely invite you to join, and also feel free to get in touch. My email is Shelly, SHELLY @iAngels.com. Always happy to get on a call and get acquainted and continue developing our community.
Sounds great. And also, I was bouncing around the website, and one of the things I really like that's on your website is your monthly write-ups or roundups about the tech scene in general. So if you're trying to figure out what's going on over there, what companies are there deals really happening? It's like, yes, they're really happening, and it's a super dense letter that's a monthly kind of update. So look for it on the website if you go there. So again, www.iangels.com. Go check it out and say hello to Shelly. Okay, thanks, Shelly, so much for being on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast. If you want to hear more, join our mailing list at jimjimsreinventionrevolution.com. See you next time, and remember, the revolution has just begun. So dig in, embrace the process of reinvention, and start realizing the success you've always dreamed of. Hey, revolutionaries, if you enjoyed today's episode and today's guest, let them know by commenting on their Facebook page, finding their Twitter handle or Instagram feed, and letting them know you heard them on Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast, and tell them what you got out of the episode, what you really liked, or how they inspired you. I know they would get a kick out of it, and will help others find the same value that you found.